and welcome back to our series where we dig into the risks, realities and responses to third-party interference across the Cadent gas network. This series is all about damage prevention, exploring how uncontrolled third-party activities can pose serious risks to people, infrastructure and the environment. So whether you're an asset owner, engineer, third party or simply curious about how we protect what's underground, this is the series for you. In today's episode, I'm your host, Dan Mee, and I'm joined by my colleague Richard Vickrage and Rob Fletcher, Landowner Service Manager at the British Pipeline Agency. So without further ado, let's dig into it. Welcome both. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning.
Morning.
Richard, could you just give us a bit of an introduction to yourself, a bit of background and your role at Cadent?
Sure. Richard Vickrage, Senior Pipeline Engineer at Cadent Gas. So I've been in the industry for about 15 years. So I've been doing various operational and engineering roles. Most recently, and the role that I'm currently doing is in the above 2 bar pipelines team. So mainly my focus on that job is ensuring the integrity of our high pressure assets or our above 2 bar assets. So that means working with our operational colleagues to ensure that maintenance, repairs, surveys, all of that kind of stuff is done as and when it should be, and ensuring that the asset stays fit for purpose for its life. And I suppose most prevalent to this is the second line technical assurance and assistance that we give our operational teams for plant protection.
Bro, awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Rob, over to you.
Yeah, I'm the Landowner Services Manager for BPA. We operate over 1,000 kilometres of multi-fuel pipelines. I manage 2 teams. One team is the inquiries team, so all the inquiries that come into the company with regards to works that are going to happen in the pipeline, people that want to work on it, what they're going to be doing. And then the other team is the lands team, which are out on site, day-to-day basis, maintaining the pipeline, making sure people are doing what they're doing, keeping the marker posts up to date, basically just keeping everything safe and tickety-boo.
Bro. And just a bit more about BPA then. So you guys are members of Limewatch?
Correct. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And so what is Limewatch, just for anyone?
So Limewatch is a group of companies that have come together, collaborate on ways of keeping the pipeline corridors safe, looking at methodologies of what we can do to get the message out there as wider among, whether it be people on a private side of things doing things, or whether it's other companies, Cadent maybe, out there. How we push that message out there of safe operations around the pipeline.
Yeah.
So we've got they obviously have Murray Pete, sort of like looks after it all, and he goes out on site, does amazing presentations. He's done some for us internally with our own engineers and that kind of thing. So he's absolutely brilliant. He goes to all the shows, various different bits and pieces. I mean, one of our largest infringers is fencing on the agricultural side of things. So it's pushing that out there to fencing companies and fencing supply contracts, things like that. So it's just finding ways of just getting out there, whether it be Farmers Weekly or whatever it might be. They're out there pushing the message, know what's below, don't dig.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously from our perspective at Cadent, we've got predominantly for us, it's accidental damage and third parties accidentally coming across and damaging the assets, whereas there is obviously the scenario of willful and theft and things like that. Is that a theft? Is that a threat to BPA?
It's one of our largest threats, and it's one that's always forefront on our minds with regards to keeping the corridors safe. We've not had any illegal tap-ins now for probably 3 years, I'd say now. So we bought on different systems. There's systems that monitor the pipeline continuously. So if we lose an amount of product, it knows immediately. It uses acoustic software to correlate, pinpoints leaks on the pipe. Not that we have leaks, because it's very safe pipeline, but essentially someone tapping in to withdraw fuel from it is a leak. So I think that disseminated around, and we're so quickly on top of any kind of illegal tapping now that, like I say, we've had nothing for 2 to 3 years.
Did you find that the methods used and the technologies that they use for illegal tappings were getting more advanced, or is it very rustic, somebody with a drill and a bucket type of thing?
Yeah, So I think originally they were very much water fittings, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Now we obviously operate at very high pressure, and you're putting a water fitting onto that. So we got environmental consequences of people just doing that for a start.
Yeah.
Let alone the danger to life of the person actually doing it. But you did start to see towards the end a more engineered approach to it, although it still wouldn't be what you'd consider precision engineering by any stretch of the imagination. Still dangerous, but they were getting better in their approach to it.
No.
I mean, one of them, they're not just digging above the pipeline and extracting at that point. There'll be people running pipelines out to sheds a kilometre away.
Right.
And so it's
very planned.
A hell of an operation.
Yeah. Operation. Yeah.
No, and you touched on sort of the stuff that Limewatch do with infringements and getting that message out there. So obviously reflecting on another organisation, UCOPA. Do you want to give us a bit of an introduction to UCOPA and the infringement working group?
So UCOPA are, I'd say, probably the largest kind of onshore pipeline operators association in the UK. So obviously there are a few different organisations, but UCOPA are probably one of the biggest, I'd say. We have a lot to do with UCOPA. They have lots of different working groups. So they have infringement working group, as you just mentioned. They also have a fault and risk working group, emergency planning. And the idea of UCOPA is to get all of the major pipeline operators, so not just gas, but gas, oil, petrochemical, together and go through what they do and how we can improve as an industry as a whole. The various things that we do in our day-to-day operations. So, as you say, the infringement working group, for example, they look at the amount of infringements that are happening on pipelines, and they will sit down as a collective and come up with ideas and ways of trying to work around this and do it as a collaborative unit. So all pipeline operators of major accident hazard pipelines are coming at it from a similar angle. And on top of that, they do give a lot back. So UCOPA, using their expertise and their contractors that they've got and their specialist consultants, they produce a lot of good practice guides. They're done in collaboration with these working groups, but also, they're, like I say, they're using specialist contractors, people such as DMV, PIE, etc. And they will produce these good working guides, good practice guides, should I say, for different companies to use and actually base their own policies and procedures on. So again, it just helps the operators really kind of create something that works and has a backing rather than just somebody kind of like guessing at what might be a good idea.
Well, that's it. Obviously, we've all got similar sort of challenges, and I suppose one of the challenges that we will have as a group in UCOPA and with Limewatch, I suppose, is everyone thinks their standards are the best. Yeah. So I suppose how do you get to that? Well, this is the minimum, and we then take the best bits from everybody. And how do you manage that relationship?
Yeah, I think it's a case of, for me anyway, when I'm at these working groups or the ones that I attend, it's kind of digging into those little bits of technologies that people are using. And even if it's something that we've potentially tried before, it may be that, we thought we were really innovative like 10, 15 years ago and something didn't work. Actually, now it might, because circumstances have changed, the operating models have changed. So actually, it's kind of looking at what people have tried and are trying and seeing if it's something that would be fit for purpose. So we had an example recently where we went to one of the members' meetings, which is one of the bigger UCOPA meetings. It's not specific about any type of work. And there were some presentations there from various operators where they'd use certain techniques that we have kind of tried, but we'd favoured away from them for one reason or another, and it's actually sparked the imagination now and thinking, well, actually that could work now. So let's look at things like composite wraps, for example, was one where we've been playing with it for quite a while, but actually could we take it that next step? And and things are in place now where we could do it. So yeah, they do really open your eyes to how you operate as an individual company, and hopefully, like I say, it doesn't make any one company better or safer. It makes the industry better and safer, which obviously can only be a good thing for everyone involved, including the public, to be fair. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we're members of UCOPA. We've got Clive Zanker, our operations head of operations. He's chairman of UCOPA. Richard Price, he's the chair of the UCOPA Integrity Working Group, and I sit on the infringement working group.
And then, because am I right in thinking it's the infringement working group that have worked on the e-learning that's gone out to through UCOPA on the third-party works and agricultural landowners?
Yes.
Yeah. So I suppose that's obviously something that's pushed from the industry. So how do we get that out from just being on the website at UCOPA? How do we get that out into the public domain, into landowners and things like that?
But they got Louis, haven't they, from Source PR, heavily involved, and he's there, and that's what his key focus is push that message out there. But it's your target audience of who that goes out to, isn't it? And it's getting to those people that are, the guy that's the farmer that's doing fencing isn't necessarily thinking about. Well, it's not even necessarily the farmer that's doing the fencing, because the farmer will know it's there. He's one of our landowners. We ride through
It's the contractor of the contractor.
Is that exactly that? Yeah, it's the guy that's coming in. Oh yeah, the fencing's going down there. He subs it out to somebody else. Doesn't tell them about the pipeline. Whammo.
Yeah, and we're trying with that e-learning and other e-learnings that are available. I know Linewatch have got some as well. We're trying to get it out as part of our landowner letters and part of the calendars, and getting QR codes on there. We're just trying to work out how we monitor, track, and then sort of incentivize it. Because obviously,
I think that's one of the things that is really a struggle. Is how do you push it out there to the contacts that you've got, that you don't start clouding the space. That you're just pushing so much out to them. It's just not like they get something from Cadent and just throw it away. It's it's getting that message out there, but it's got to be concise and it's got to be easily digestible.
Yeah,
so,
I think it needs to be consistent as well. I mean, where we could potentially fall foul of this as a single company, where you end up with different messages from different areas. So we operate operationally as five specific areas. So West Midlands, North West, East Midlands, East of England, North London. And you could very much have a situation where one landowner has pipelines from two different networks running through the same field.
Right. Yeah.
And it's no good if, say, the West Midlands team send a letter with one bit of information and then the East Midlands team send a letter with a different bit of information. Because all of a sudden you've got one landowner from receiving information from one company with two slightly different messages. And as soon as you start to show anything that's slightly confusing or not right, people switch off, they disengage. The second they see discrepancies, they think, no, and they just don't take it seriously. So
do you operate separate lands activities for different business units then?
So it all stems from the same policies and procedures, but they work as completely separate entities. So the East Midlands will have a land agent and the West Midlands will have a separate land agent. So when we want to do maintenance activities such as SIPs or line walking, the letters could be worded slightly differently because it depends on what the project manager for that activity in that area and the lands agent for that area wants to put in it, or what they think should be in it. So you could have two very different letters telling a landowner we're going to do the same activity in the same field 6 months apart.
Interesting.
And that's looking at it from like a maintenance and an access to land perspective. But then that sort of inconsistency of messaging and approach, and well, who do I contact for? If you're a landowner, you've got the latest information you've got is from a project manager in a maintenance department. If you go to that project manager, do they then redirect the inquiry for the fencing activity to the right department? So it's making sure that all those dots are joined up as well, because otherwise you start to get landowners, well, who do I go to for this? Who do I go to for that? Who am I expecting on site? It's really about trying to make that consistent and clear from a landowner perspective. If we are taking parts of the field out of operation for digs or surveys and things like that, it's just trying to get it consistent. I mean, how many landowners do you guys run through roughly?
On Ucopa, we're just over 2,000. Feenline is just over 250. SR lines are in around 200 as well. Yeah.
And so like, you obviously touched on some of the work that your team does on the engagement with landowners and things like that. So what sort of things do you do?
So we have annual letters. So we'll be annual letters every single year. We've got another set gone out so they're just coming back in now. We run those separately to the other contracts we've got. So each runs on their own individually. There'll be a 6-monthly update. So we'll just push out a kind of message, whether it be fencing, digging holes, whatever it might be. But that's to landowners. It's a slightly different message that we put out to the target audience. There's obviously the councils that we're in constant contact with, and we push out messaging to them separately. Yeah, I think that's about it.
And then I'm sure we've all had it. The misconceptions and the I've hit loads of these parts before, and I know where these parts.
I know where it is. I know what I'm doing. I've had you out here before. I don't need you out here again. That kind of stuff.
How do you deal with that and address that?
I mean, I think that is just the way that your team approach it, and having a professional team out there. I mean, our lands guys absolutely brilliant. You know, they're out there. We've got 8 of them now. They've got a patch that they look after specifically on their own, so they know the landowners. You know, so the message that comes from, you know, BPA, as it was saying, is a message that goes out on its own. They've got a map. You know, they're asked to feedback. You know, is that correct? And the rest of it. But of course, like you say, after a period of time, they're like,
it's a nice. I suppose having that consistent contact's a nice, almost personal touch as well.
Exactly.
You know the landowner, he knows you, and you can have that conversation of a bit more that's beyond the pipeline and say, well, what have you got at the weekend? How did the show go? How did your event go? It's a bit more personal, isn't it? Like
exactly
having that dedicated contact.
How are you finding it with... I want to be careful on the word that I use here, because the word that springs to mind is attitude, but that's probably a bit of a negative connotation. Behaviours, yeah. It's probably behaviours of how the landowners kind of approach these now. So I don't know if it's just us, or it's just I've hit a selection in a short period of time where we're starting to find landowners disengaging a little bit, because they're getting to that point now where it's like, who are you to tell me what I can do with my land? So obviously we have a high pressure pipeline running through their field. Yeah. We're telling them, well, you can't do that and you can't do this around the pipeline. Yeah. And then some of them are kind of getting into that point now. So you can't tell me what to do with my land. It's my land. Who are you to tell me what to do with it? And I've got my own thoughts. I think personally we're in a position now where you're kind of on third generation. So the agreements that were made when these pipelines were laid, we're not dealing with the person that those agreements were made. No, we're not even dealing with their children. We're probably dealing with their grandchildren. Yeah. So they have no idea about the agreements and the working environment that was made with them. And I just sometimes feel like that's starting to creep in a little bit. Do you find that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think where we're probably different is that we have leases for the pipelines. So we've got legal leases that run through all the lands, which probably puts a slightly different angle on it.
Right. Okay.
In that when you start talking legal terms, they're a bit like, they can be a bit standoffish. Although we never really go down that route. I mean, I think a lot of it's approach. Yeah. Of, you know, like I say, our guys that are out on the line, they know the people know them, and it's always just kept, you know, any kind of trouble, get out of there quick. But just keep it friendly. Yeah, there's not much that we can't work around. You know, it's I mean, one of our issues is you know, our nominal depth is about 1.2 meters, so we're not that deep. Yeah. So anyone, you know, farmers working out in the fields with, you know, mole plows or whatever, they can get pretty close. It's just pushing that message out there.
Because I think people sort of assume that some of these assets are meters and meters deep and they're never going to come across them.
Exactly that.
It's only when you sort of when you step back from a dig and you sort of see the pipe in the excavation, you go, it's not that deep.
I mean, you think back in the 60s, 70s when most of these were laid, the standard was 900 mil, you know, less than a metre. So,
but at the time when the plough was pulled by horse and cart,
exactly,
clearly that was deep enough.
It didn't matter, but you know, nowadays my kids will dig a hole a metre deep in my back garden, much to my dismay when I've got to resow the grass. But it's crazy how like I say, how the technologies have changed. And
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully they're changing back again. So, farming techniques are starting to change a little bit. So they're not ploughing, I mean, probably a lot of people watch Clarkson's farm, and you can see kind of like the things that he's going through, trying to make sure that they don't damage the land and using the land in different ways.
Although on that front, there is a min till on farms now. Essentially, they're just disking the top 2 or 3 inches, and that's it. With regards to climate change and where we see really wet winters but really dry summers, they are still mole ploughing quite a lot just to get that drainage there. And it's the mole plough, not the plough, that's the problem. But when they're down at that depth, just with that single point running through the ground, that's where our danger lies.
I'm going to say the technology to be able to pull the ploughs at that depth in the ground conditions.
Exactly.
It quite quickly and easily can cause a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
So if we just pivot out of farming and landowners and move towards sort of the highway, obviously, like you say, you do all your great work with your landowners and the contractors, but from an asset perspective in the highway, people expect gas, water, electric, telecoms. They know that they're somewhere in that area. Something like a BPA pipeline. People aren't some people don't even come across that in their life. So what do you do to get to that audience and get to at the point of sort of street works? How do you get that message out there?
Street works are essentially channeled through councils, aren't they? Anyone that's you apply for your licence to dig in the highway or footpath or whatever it might be, and from that we'll get notifications from the council, things like that. So we pick those up on there, or they do line watch, or line search. Sorry,
so do a search.
Yeah.
Do you do anything with the with Street Manager around like special engineering difficulties, things like that? Because I've seen some operators utilise the special engineering difficulty so that when the permit goes in, they get a flag that there's a pipeline between these points,
right? Okay,
and it's just another layer potentially that if that's the thing that somebody catches.
Yeah, I mean, probably one of our problems is getting the contact with it. So essentially someone will put a line search in. Line search comes to us, or we then flag back with an affected response, and then it's getting that dialogue and picking up that dialogue and keeping that consistent through that process. We had an interesting one last year of where we got an effective response from a line watch. We went back to them. Yeah, that's our pipeline. What they want to do was a trial hole above our pipes to expose them where they are, because they're for a new housing estate. So it's middle of the field, middle of nowhere, but fine, So they sent us their RAMs. Approved. They're all great. In that meantime, the guy that was dealing with us from their side left, and another guy come in, picks up the RAMs. Oh yeah, they're approved. Great. Go and dig the hole. Of course, they went out and dug the hole, used the Vickrage on it, and
without the supervision.
Exactly, no supervision.
Yeah, and I think in that scenario, it's the handover, obviously, but the other big challenge is the disconnect between sometimes the person doing the line search might be in an office, might even be offshore,
Exactly
versus then how do you get that to the person that turns up on site to do the works, to make sure that they're clear that this is either your approval and here's your conditions, or you don't have approval. You need to come back to us, and we need to engage and get that process and that supervision booked in. And it's that challenge, isn't it? Getting involved.
It is, yeah. I mean, we want to be there. Any kind of excavation within the easement, we want to be there supervising anyway. So,
so if we look, like you say, you touched on doing the engagement with the landowners, get the notifications up front from line search, and we manage those as sort of planned inquiries. What do you do in terms of sort of surveillance and identifying the sort of non-notified works? And
right, so surveillance wise, we've obviously got lands technicians out there. They're walking the pipeline. They're out there continuously. They have vantage point surveys that they do once a week, so they know where the key points are. There's the illegal tapping points that we recognise as probably high risk points, so they'll be out there once a week just checking those. We've got a helicopter that flies every 2 weeks, And then we've just started trialing a satellite surveillance of where you take a satellite image, high-res image, and then a month later, another image. AI compares the two, looks at surface change, and then flags up. That then sits onto a interface on the computer, and that's directly sent to the tech. He'll have a look at it, go out on site, get a picture, uploads that picture back into that web face, comes back. So we're picking that up.
Yeah.
So you say that you've got the techs walking the pipelines. How often are they doing those vantage and line walks?
So vantage points, road crossings, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're sort of like once a week or once every 2 weeks, something like that. They're out there doing those, and then they cover the entire pipeline once a year.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you find that with kind of like resourcing and access and
It's difficult.
information?
I mean, it's weather dependent, isn't it? And it's a case of being efficient with what those guys do, and they're essentially empowered to just work it out for yourself, guys. You know where you know where you got to go. You know where your maintenance points are. Work it out between your maintenance points. If we start sort of like slipping behind on line walking, they'll team up, so they're sort of like just skipping, so they haven't got to walk there and walk back, because obviously if you're walking on your own, you've got to walk 5k one way and walk 5k back. If you've got two guys, you can skip along. So
and what about managing that? Obviously, if it's the same person every week on the vantage, you generally can remember what you saw a week ago.
Exactly.
What do you do in terms of sort of, I suppose, assuring that and evidencing it so say the person goes on holiday, somebody else does it the next week and is looking, well, is that a fresh tarmac patch, or is that an old one that the guy before reported? How do you manage those?
Yeah, I mean, they hand over anything that's like of key concern. But essentially, if it's 1 week to 2 weeks, if he's only having a week off, it's pointless taking one guy off his own area. Yeah, because that leaves a hole in his area. So if it slips for a week or two, that's fine. Yeah,
and I suppose the sort of durations that you're talking there, if you've got something like an illegal pipeline planned connection where they've laid 100 meters of pipe parallel, you sort of questioning, going, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Early on in the process,
and you wouldn't necessarily pick those up from vantage point surveys anyway. Because what we found is they were digging hedgerows, so you
wouldn't notice
unless you're exactly bang on it. You're never going to get it. But the software that we're using for monitoring illegal tap-ins is it's incredible. Yeah, you'd struggle to get 50 litres out of the pipeline.
Yeah, before it knows. Yeah, wow. Yeah. And on the some of the satellite stuff, then I think because we've seen it used across Europe and America. Yeah. Obviously, the big benefit they have there is the weather. It's not cloudy.
Yeah.
It's one of the challenges we've got. But it is useful in those sort of the land changes over time.
Correct.
The sort of challenge that we've had is really around the getting the captures at the right intervals for it to then sort of meet a policy requirement, but then also to then add value between, well, is that a change or is that just an obscure picture or a different angle of the picture? It's some of those challenges.
What resolution are you using?
I can't remember. I think we're using the Maxar satellite, so it's really high resolution. But it does have those challenges with the intervals between the captures and also the cost of the capture. So we're looking at, from the satellite perspective and the work on the DPLA and other innovations that we're doing, we're looking at, well, with a capture, what else can we do with it? Yeah. Can we look at encroachments, ground movement, build overs, leakage, all those sorts of things with the capture to then pull the cost down, essentially, to get more value out of it.
Yeah.
But
because it is very expensive. It is very expensive, and it's not, having experience now, it's not a like-for-like replacement for helicopters. No. It's not a like-for-like replacement for anything. It's just a different form of capturing what's happening at that pipeline at the specific moment. Now, we've had a couple of interesting ones of like a container movement. So a container movement in a farmyard from 20 metres one side of the farmyard to over the pipeline, which is ordinarily fine. It's not a problem. And the helicopter wouldn't notice that, because your Mark 1 eyeball's always going to go, well, there's always a blue container in that farmyard. No problem. Thinks nothing of it. and the same for the guy that's line walking. So, oh yeah, there's always been a blue container in that farmyard, not a problem. But what it could be is an illegal tap-in inside that container that's now directly over your pipeline. They just dig through the bottom of the container, onto the pipeline. No one's none the wiser. So the satellite surveillance can pick that up because it says damage changed. You can see the surface change.
Yeah, we had one similar on our satellite trial, and it turned out to be nothing, but I suppose it's highlighting to it. So we had the pipeline, it ran down a road, and it was at an intersection, and they'd put the anti-skid down. Right. So when the first picture was taken, obviously it was just a normal black tarmac road. Yeah. Second picture, something big and red now on the road. Yeah. And like I say, as it turns out, it was just a redressing issue, but it could have been something more. Did they dig down deeper?
Exactly that. But it's
highlighting that.
The problem I've got at the moment is how do you put a value on that?
Yeah.
And it's valuising that, because satellites are expensive, and without a doubt, you feel like you've got significantly more observation on your pipeline. But it's what value is that?
If it's fault, like I say, if it's false positives, the cost then is even more because you're having to do the response to the finding.
Yeah. So that obviously needed an engineer to go out, have a look at it, assess it. It then gets picked up, and as it turned out, it was literally just a dressing change. Yeah. But yeah, it's those knock-on costs sometimes that we have to consider. Because so, are you looking at any other innovation kind of pieces to make your increase frequencies as well as accuracy?
So we've just pushed out drones to the lands team. So all the guys have got drones now.
Okay.
Obviously, they're limited by line of sight, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's just good for getting in places that you can't necessarily see or access quickly. Yeah.
Like you say, your tall fences, your high walls.
Exactly.
Chuck it up and you can see it. Better line of sight.
Yeah, there's balls in the field, whatever it might be. Whatever the risk is out there, you can limit your exposure to it just by using the drones. But that has its issues with regards to training and licensing and all the rest of it. So that's not quite as
it's not as simple as it sounds. It's
certainly not. No. But I'm aware of some. See, in Europe, they're running Beagle systems, aren't they? And there's pipelines in Germany that can fly the entire pipeline with a drone in a day.
Wow.
And that's with high-res 8K cameras.
And going back to your helicopter scenario and your Mark 1 highball, and you take the human out of it and you go to a drone, you go to a camera, you go to a camera with a geofence and some AI.
Yeah.
It's facts. It's not subjective in terms of the distance. It's not subjective. Correct. Is that container always there, or is it moved?
Yeah.
It's very much that. There's your first flight. There's your second.
But then that's affected by time, isn't it? Because by the time you've got that information in, you're 2 or 3 days down the road. Even at the quickest. But the helicopter, the guy can see it. There's a digger tracking across towards exactly where the pipeline is, and the ditching along there is 2 meters away from the thing. So he can phone up and get someone down there straight away.
Yeah. We're going back to your point though around like technology advancements. It's that well, we trialed it and the 2 to 3 day delay isn't sufficient as an example.
Yeah.
In a year's time, 2 years time, that might be. It's instantaneous. It's processed there and then. And it's
this is it. Yeah, I mean, we've all seen sci-fi films and films that are based on future, and it could very easily be that at the moment it takes the data, it processes it. In the future, it might be that if it sees something that it considers high risk, instantaneous alert to a supervisor or the core systems, and that's instantly rolling somebody out to it.
Without a doubt, that Beagle system is running 8K. That would be able to fly that your corridor, and AI would pick up instantaneously changes. Yeah, immediately. It could be looking at it live. So
I think for us as well, it's not so much, and again, this probably affects us slightly more just given our sheer volume and how much we have in the public highway. But it's not just the advancements in technologies we can use. So one of our engineers went recently to, I think it was JCB or CAT or one of the big digger manufacturers and excavator manufacturers to actually look at having our data put into their onboard GPS computers.
Oh, okay.
So what they can actually look at doing is upload all of the pipeline data into their machines, and because their machines quite often run off GPS now, the machines are getting smarter. You can tell it, I want a hole this size in this field. It will only let the driver or the operator dig that hole.
Yeah.
And by having our equipment into it, it can instantaneously stop the machine to say, well, you can't dig there because this pipeline's there. And,
Incredible, isn't it?
you know, there's the advancements like that. And I think those are the kind of advancements we need to support as well, because there's only so much we can do as an operator, other than having every pipeline monitored 24/7.
Yeah.
It's getting, like you say, as we spoke about earlier, getting the messages out to other people, but it's getting other technologies out there. You know, there are things that can be implemented, which we need to support as opposed to run.
You're ultimately putting extra slice of cheese in the process, aren't you, on that Swiss cheese model?
Yeah.
You're looking at, okay, well, this is what we do currently, this is what we've done for the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
What extra can we do now with technology, with data, with AI and all those sorts of things, and how do we get those extra layers in?
Yeah.
But then the challenge is then, how do you, like touching on the value point, how do you justify the value of those extra layers when we are predominantly in the UK a safe pipeline operating industry?
Yeah.
It's that justification of, but not, there is that chance, there's always that chance.
But I think as we get more busy, isn't it? Yeah. As all these towns are expanding, all the networks are coming under increased pressure. And it's, it value against that, isn't it?
And I think it's that, kind of going back to the farming as well as just general industry, everybody is trying to do more cheaper. You know, farmers are under the cosh, so they're trying to get as much out of their land as often as possible. You know, companies are having to work harder, smarter to try and get the same outputs for less expenditure. And it's making sure that whilst society moves that way, it's not put at risk, because the second you hit a high pressure pipeline, gas, water, oil, whatever, all of a sudden your costs are negated. It doesn't matter how smart or how economically you work, so your costs have gone.
That's where that costing comes, isn't it? It's just sort of like risk and likelihood, isn't it? Yeah. It's like,
well, we've covered my last question around the future of safe digging, I think, quite nicely there with all the stuff on technology and additional stuff. So thank you both for joining me today. And
thank you for having us.
And thank you for joining us for this 3-part series. And stay tuned, because coming up, we're going to look beyond the UK and into the future. What is the situation across Europe and overseas with regards to asset protection, and how can we leverage technology to help better manage the risk? So if you think you've got something to add as an asset owner, technology pioneer, or a supplier, we'd love to hear from you. So stay tuned, stay safe, and please share this with your teams and colleagues across the organisation and wider industry.